manger, no crib for his bed. The little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. I love thee, Lord Jesus, look down from the sky and stay by my cradle till morning is nigh. Okay, you guys, so Merry belated Christmas. I hope that you had a beautiful, beautiful day on Christmas. And I sang Away in the Manger because Away in the Manger is the theme of this past weekend sermon, and this past weekend sermon also was fittingly Christmas Eve. And so what Away in the Manger teaches us is that there are 4 songs of the stable, and the first song of the stable comes from Mary, the Mother Mary of Jesus. And the song that she sings in her life is the song of submission. And we see that very clearly in Luke chapter 1, verse 38. It says, Mary said, I am the Lord's servant, and I am willing to do whatever he wants. May everything you have said come true. So Mary was willing to submit to the plan that God had for her. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is my response to circumstances in my life that are out of my control? So we need to think about, are we questioning God when he would ask us to do something or put us in a certain situation in order to make our faith stronger? So we need to ask ourselves, what is my response to the circumstances that the Lord gives me? And let me see. Number 2 is the Song of Obedience. And the Song of Obedience comes from Joseph. And we find that Joseph was obedient in Matthew 1:24, chapter 1, verse 24. The verse says, Joseph did exactly as the Lord had told him. Because when Joseph found out that Mary was pregnant from Mary herself, she went and told Joseph, this is what the Lord said, and I'm going to have a baby. Well, in those days, women who went outside of their relationship, or more importantly, outside of their marriage or engagement, were taken outside the city, outside in the middle of the city to be stoned. But the angel of the Lord stopped him and told him that, in fact, the baby that Mary was carrying was the Son of God, and that it was God's will to do this, to bring about this miracle using Mary. So we need to ask ourselves, how do I respond when God asks me to do something that is humbling or hard? The third song is the Song of Praise. And the Song of Praise comes from the shepherds. And we see in Luke chapter 2, verse 20, it says, the shepherds went back, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen. And again, that is Luke 2, verse 20. And it's the action question is, ask yourself, how do I respond to the good news and blessings I receive? Okay, so with that said, with this particular point said, I was thinking, well, how many times do I openly share my faith with a friend? Not necessarily expecting them to agree with me or respond in the way exactly that I would want them to in the moment, but how openly am I telling them, okay, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe, and I'm doing it in a way that is respectful, but in a way that shows as well that I am not ashamed of it. Because once you receive your salvation, it is something that is such good news that it should be talked about. And it should be talked about openly as often as you can talk about it. Okay, so song number 4 is the Song of Worship, and it was sung by the wise men. And the verse that illustrates this point says, after coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell to the ground and worshipped him. Now, our pastor, Pastor Rick, who delivered this message, he said that Jesus wasn't a baby in the manger anymore when the wise men, or the 3 kings, whatever you want to call them, a lot of us call them by both names interchangeably, but when they got to where Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus were, baby Jesus wasn't a baby in the cradle. He was about 1 year old at the time, because that's how long it took for them to travel. So ask yourself, how intentional, and this goes back to sharing in your faith as well, how intentional am I about my worship? Are you what tends to be called a Sunday Christian? Are you a twice a week Christian? Or do you wear your relationship on your heart every single day of the week? Song number 5 is the Song of Faith. And the Song of Faith comes from Anna and Simeon. Anna was a widow that was 84 years old, and she was widowed after only, I believe it was 7 years of marriage. And she spent every single day of her life after she was widowed in the temple fasting and praying. And Simeon was an older gentleman who the Lord had revealed to him, God had revealed to him, that he would not die until he saw the Messiah with his own eyes. So when Mary and Joseph took Jesus basically to the temple, to church, to dedicate him to the Lord, which is a practice that many churches, including mine, have today. We don't believe in baptizing babies by immersion or by sprinkling, but we rather dedicate them to the Lord with their parents by their side and pray for the family and pray for the child, that the child would grow to know Jesus and to know who he is and who he can be in their lives when they are old enough to understand it. Okay, so Anna was an old widow. Like I said, Anna was an old widow who was 84 years old. And once she saw the Messiah, she did not keep the news quiet. She went all over the church and around the church and told everybody about it. And Simeon actually picked up Jesus in his arms, and Jesus was a baby at this time. Actually picked up Jesus in his arms and said, Lord, now you can take me because I have seen what you have promised. So, and I had said that without reading the verses, but in Luke chapter 2, verse 25, it says, at the time there was a man in Jerusalem named Simeon. He was righteous and devout, and was eagerly waiting for the Messiah to come and rescue Israel. And Luke 2:36 through 37 says, Anna, a prophet, was also there at the temple. She was very old. She had never left the temple, but stayed there day and night, worshiping God and fasting and praying. So the question that we need to ask ourselves regarding this point is, do I cling to God's promises even when the evidence around me seems that the evidence around me seems that they are not true? So, a lot of times things can present themselves like they're not true, or they're not going to come true as God told it. But God, we have to remember that God is a faithful God, and He will fulfill all His promises to us. But He works in His own timing. He doesn't work on our timing. So we just have to be faithful and patient and trusting that He will fulfill His promises. So, you guys, I hope that you had a beautiful, beautiful, blessed Christmas. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Marie Nicole, and I make videos. Video making is my passion, and I am also a coach. So I make videos as often as I can, usually every week. But right now I am currently working through a notebook that I have of old notes. So it's going to be more than once a week. But as far as my sermon notes go, it is once a week. I will talk to you later. God bless you. And I hope that the new year brings many, many blessings and all goes well this week and in the new year. I'll talk to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.